creating cultural awareness and understanding. This is Culture Clique. Culture Clique is written and produced by KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University.
Today on Culture Clique, we bring you the first in a two-part series on a Minnesota music venue that is truly a hidden gem, the Oak Center General Store. The Oak Center General Store, as the name implies, is more than a music venue. It's also a general store, much like your grandparents might remember or like you might see in an old movie. It has also been home to a wood shop and has been the storefront for Earth and Path Organic Farms. The building has housed a general store and community meeting room since its construction in 1913, and its doors were only closed for 6 short years in the 1970s. In other words, this place has been open and operating for nearly 110 years. If you aren't yet aware of the Oak Center General Store, then you are in for a treat. I'm Bill Stoneberg, and I hope that you enjoy this story of the Oak Center General Store as much as I enjoyed making it. Here's part 1 of our look into the Oak Center General Store, today on Culture Clique. Walking through the front door of the Oak Center General Store is like stepping back in time. As you push the heavy wood door open, a bell rings and you step onto a creaky wood floor. A long mercantile counter runs the length of the room on one side. The other side has an old wooden cooler filled with local sodas and assorted items that need to be kept cold. Throughout the storefront, there are some produce and some food items along with various goods that one might expect to see in a store that caters to those free spirits who might want to do things a little different. If I were to describe my first time walking into this time travel-inducing building, I believe I might say something like, it's magic. I first became aware of the Oak Center General Store in early 2020. My partner and I were excited that Eric Koskinen was scheduled to play in Winona, but then we noticed he was also playing near Lake City, Minnesota, and when we clicked on the link to the venue, we saw pictures of the Oak Center General Store. We just had to see Eric there instead. Then, COVID-19 hit. The Eric Koskinen show at Oak Center was canceled along with many others. We were very disappointed. We were very excited to see Mr. Koskinen play, but we were also excited to experience a show at this venue that we had just discovered. The photos of the interior of the venue were so intriguing. It just looked so beautiful and like something from another time. We decided, show or no show, we have to go see this place. So, one Saturday afternoon, we headed to the Oak Center General Store. As we enter the store, we are greeted by 2 dogs. Then, as we begin to browse around the store, a frail, slow-moving figure appears in the back doorway.
Hey! Hi! How you doing?
It's Stephen Schwen, proprietor and resident of the Oak Center General Store. We greet Stephen and have a little chat, informing him that even though the show was canceled, the photos of the venue were so incredible, and since the store was still open, we just had to go see the place for ourselves. So Stephen gave us a tour of the place, all the while imparting little details about the history of the building before and after he acquired it in 1976, and then inevitably mixing in some stories of his involvement in fights for social justice in the hippie movement of the 60s. As it turns out, Stephen Schwen, originally from Blue Earth, Minnesota, was a student of medicine. He became disillusioned with the pursuit of a career in medicine and ended up here, in Oak Center, Minnesota. Oak Center is an unincorporated community that once had a post office, a creamery, and various other businesses, including the general store. The store first opened in 1913 and operated as a general store, implement dealer, and community center until it closed its doors in 1970. Stephen Schwen resurrected the store in 1976. Since that time, Stephen has operated the store in a small farm called Earth and Path Organic Farms, where he grows fruit, herbs, and vegetables to sell in the store and local farmers markets and to contribute to the local CSA, or Community Supported Agriculture Program. Stephen has also operated a music venue in the meeting hall upstairs, which folk musician John Smith from Trempealeau, Wisconsin said, "It's like playing inside of a guitar." In late 2021, I was asked to write an article about the Oak Center General Store for the Oak Hooch Mountain Echo. The following are the interviews that I did for that article. Stephen and I are seated at the table in the back room of the store, next to the big old wood cook stove that he uses to heat the place. I'm here with Stephen Schwed. He is the owner-operator of the Oak Center General Store and Earth and Path Organic Farms, right? Did I say that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
You know, in fact, when people call me on the phone and say, "Can I talk to the manager?" and I say, "I'm the Miss Manager."
Excellent. Does that work for them? Do they accept that, or do they want the real manager?
Sometimes they accept it, but sometimes they go, "Well, put me in charge. Put me in touch with the manager."
Oh, nice. But yeah, the this building is quite old, and well, I'll have you tell it. What's kind of the history of this building? You know,
I haven't been here the whole time.
Right, you haven't been here the whole time.
It's 107
sometimes
years
it feels
old.
like that, right? But,
It's 107 years old.
right,
This building,
right,
and
right.
it was built in 1913.
Mm-hmm.
Sophie Seward
Okay.
and A.J. Seward. I mean, her last name was, before she became a Seward, I can't remember what her last name was, but the stories here in Oak Center were that her parents had the money to, build this store and that stucco house across the street where when I first moved here.
Mm-hmm.
Sophie was living there alone. A.J. had long been dead.
Okay.
And the two drunkard sons, from having a family that was pretty well off, considering, the neighborhood.
Right.
And they were spoiled, rotten, and they were both drunkards.
Oh, wow.
And Tubby, who was not fat at all, he was skinny.
Skinny guy. Yeah.
I think he was called Tubby because they went to school across the street when that school was a one-room schoolhouse.
Uh-huh.
And they went to school there, and the teacher teased him, calling him Tubby, I guess because he was so skinny.
Oh, wow.
Ben, his brother, was a little tubby.
Uh-huh.
But so anyway, the building was built in 1913. Sophie's family had the money.
Mm-hmm.
AJ was he didn't provide the finances, but he was the wheeler dealer.
Okay.
And AJ bought and sold futures and went up to the Twin Cities to go to the futures market, and he would trade on that market with, whether it was, hogs or corn or whatever.
Right.
And they had a machine shop set up in a shed that's fallen down since, and it's on the east side of my building here.
Okay.
There's just a kind of a pile of rubble over there.
Right. That's where the shop was?
Well, yeah, that's where their machine shop was.
Right.
And when I first moved in, it was kind of caving in, and the wiring that was going through it was all getting stretched. And I thought, you know what, I need to just tear that down and salvage that wiring out of there. But the stories that the stories just kept walking in the door from the day I got this place.
And so you acquired it in the 76?
76.
76, okay. Yeah.
The 200th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
It was my Declaration of Independence.
That's what I was going to ask, if it was, yeah.
Actually, before that, I had talked some friends into celebrating a 4th of July by declaring independence and writing up a new Declaration of Independence from the imperialist state of that would have been, I think, back in the days when we were just getting out of Vietnam.
Okay. Yeah.
But
but this was always a general store like it is, right?
Well, it was more a general store than it is now. It was closed for 6 years when I found it.
Okay, so it closed. So it operated up from
1913.
1913. Okay, from then until 1970, it was open and operating as a store.
And they bought and sold wool.
Okay.
They trucked grain.
Oh, wow.
That was before the days of baling with baling twine. They had a baler that used to bale with wire-tied bales.
Oh, wow.
And they sold case equipment.
Okay, wow.
And moonshine.
All the important things, right? So this was a real kind of important center of this area.
It was. It was a community center. And this store is built on the site of what was the Cooperative Creamery.
Oh, okay.
The old foundation of the Cooperative Creamery is still in what I call my backyard.
Oh, wow.
I've had to chop through it a few times when I was trying to plant a tree back there.
Wow.
And I saved the bricks that I found in my pasture from when they knocked down that creamery. I saved those bricks to rebuild the chimney that had got knocked over when this big garage on the backside lifted up during one of those tornadoes and knocked the chimney over. I rebuilt it all the way up a whole nother story and then built an addition on the flat roof that whoever was in charge of the operation, the year that they added this brick addition on, put a flat roof on it in Minnesota.
Yeah, right.
Come on.
Right.
Who's got a thought process that does something like that, in Minnesota?
Right.
Maybe in New Mexico.
But you recycled and reused, basically using the old brick.
Well, that flat roof, and I was doing, woodworking and cabinet making and remodeling on the side to pay the bills.
Right.
And the cabinet making came because I didn't have enough. I was making furniture. I didn't have enough income coming in making furniture for people because, basically I'm trying to be affordable for my neighbors.
Right.
And none of them could afford to pay a decent wage to a hippie type who was making furniture for him. But, a lot of the local neighbors were really supportive and allowed me to make some really creative stuff.
Cool. Nice.
In fact, this table here with those carved lion claw feet there. I made this for a neighbor.
Oh, wow.
Who showed me a picture of one in a Kmart catalog back when there was a Kmart.
Right.
And the Kmart table didn't have carved feet. It had just a profile band-sawed out. And it was particle board with oak veneer on it.
Oh, geez. This is a real table.
And he said, well, this table's, I think he said $400 from Kmart. And then he showed me one that was in a furniture magazine that was $1,200 that had real solid oak and carved feet. And he says, we like the price on this Kmart one, but we like this other one. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of difference between those two tables.
Yeah.
And I'll do the best I can. Right. So I made this table, and I figured my wage at $2 an hour. And it came out to $600. Yeah. And the lumber in this, I hand selected some, quarter sawn oak. With see the figure in that quarter sawn oak? They call that tiger oak.
Okay.
Because it's each board is sawed. Each board is sawed through those rays that you see in an oak log. So it opens up the ray and it creates these tiger, figures in the lumber. So I told him, I said, well, the cheapest I can sell this table is $600.
Right, yeah.
And if you can't pay that, then I'm going to keep it. And I'm glad I did, because there have been a lot of very, very good
times.
Fellowship times around this table, and it serves as the table that when we have a concert, people come and they gather around this table cooking food up for the concert, and we actually had a potluck dinner around this table with Eugene McCarthy.
Oh, really?
And the room was full of people.
Wow.
I have a picture. I can run get it if you want to show it on your radio show.
Oh, well, maybe we can get it later and we'll add it in later. And you guys can see the picture out there.
You can describe it. Oh, yeah, there's Eugene.
We both chuckle a bit about showing photos on the radio. But the story of the table brings us to the reason I stumbled upon the Oak Center General Store to begin with: music. You see, part of every musical performance that happens here is the sharing of a farm-fresh meal. Shows at the General Store are more than just a musical performance. They are about sharing art, ideas, and community. Musicians seem to love playing the store as well. Like I said, singer-songwriter John Smith said it's like playing inside of a guitar. The list of artists that have performed here over the years is full of recognizable names, including Mark Olson from the Jayhawks, Greg Brown, Charlie Parr, David Huckfeld, and also his former band The Pines, Humbird, Eric Koskinen, Chris Koza, the Federales, Molly Mayer, Pistol Whip and Party Penguins, Dean McGraw, and Bill Staines, who had played here every year for over 40 years, right up until his death this past year. How did you start having shows? Like, what was your vision when you bought this in '76? What were your plans for it? You know, what... because if I remember right, you told me you weren't doing shows right away.
No, I was living in a commune.
Okay.
And I had come out of, had gone to college in Chicago on the north side, and I started college in 1968.
Okay.
The year of the Chicago, it started out the Chicago 8. They called them the Conspiracy 8.
Oh.
The Vietnam War was raging.
Right.
My draft number was 35. So if I wouldn't have gotten good grades, and actually I had a scholarship going to this school, and it was a good school, and I was pre-med when I started, and I had a student deferment, which I tried to give up because I thought I felt guilty. So anyway, I tried to give up my deferment because I had a certain amount of guilt for having that, maybe, the smarts and the what it takes to, as a young child, the encouragement to learn science and to, do all that stuff. And I don't want to deny that all the opportunities I had as a young child that led to my being able to graduate from my little town,
right, and go to school,
salutatorian of my class, and even the cops even gave me an athlete citizen trophy at the awards banquet at the end of the year.
Oh wow!
Even though the police chief was trying to get me busted for some drugs that my parents turned me in for.
Oh, jeez. That sounds like a whole other story.
Yeah, that is a whole
boy.
So anyway, my vision when I first moved here was coming from a commune that was called the Orinoco G Church.
Okay.
But so when I first moved here, I had left college in the, it was 72 when I graduated from college, having gone through the whole anti-war protests and the Conspiracy 8 trials and the Crosby, Stills, and Nash singing about your brothers bound and gagged,
Right.
That was all happening right while I was down there going to school. And it all distorted my brain and made me a commie, hippie, pagan liberal.
Right. So then you're in the commune here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And
it's, build a whole new world from the, we were pretty ambitious.
Right.
Build the whole new world from the ground, from the roots up,
Right.
Start with the land and stop using chemicals on the land and form co-ops, build a new economy, building cooperative economics and
well, it sounds like the experiences, in the commune and stuff like that, and in the time period, it sounds like that carried through here at the store and with the farm.
Well, I said, I was permanently affected.
Right. So so you got this in '76 again, and then what did you do right away with it? Like, did you just start the farm?
Well, at that time, I was calling myself a missionary farmer.
Okay.
And I was trying to become sort of the lead, not the lead, but one of the advance guard of the, organic back to the land movement here in my home state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
And it actually my neighbors were kind of a little bit wary, skeptical when some guy with long hair and a beard moves in, and some families around here wouldn't let their kids come in the store. I think they probably were afraid that I was going to offer them some Kool-Aid.
Oh, right, yeah. Clash of ideals, right? You know.
And you know what? My family, my mom and dad were totally, pro-Nixon all the way through that whole Vietnam War, and anti-JFK, because he was Catholic.
Oh.
And because he was a Democrat.
Right.
That's two strikes against him there.
Yeah.
So, I used to, it was definitely a challenge to get through Thanksgiving dinners and that.
Yeah. So you got the store, and you're doing missionary agriculture work.
How did that lead into
music? How did that lead into the music? Yeah, because you have, and I don't think we've even mentioned that yet, but, it's a general store out front. You have, the wood shop you had next door, adjacent here. But upstairs, there's this, beautiful concert room, meeting room kind of, right? With a built-in stage and, how did you...
Well, like I started to say, when I first got this place, the stories from old timers came in through the doors.
Right. Okay.
And, I heard a whole lot of the history of everything that had happened here, including, the bootlegging story about the Seawards and people telling their kids that they couldn't come in here because I was a communist, but it was my vision to be a missionary for this back to the land peace movement that had been, in the beginning stages and was growing and becoming. It swept the globe.
Right.
There were people becoming hippies in Europe and even in Russia here. From talking to people that are Russians that I have met, and South America, that whole back to the land, love, peace, hippie thing, it touched people all across the globe.
Right, yeah.
So, hello. We're kind of in the middle of an interview here, Jill.
Oh, that's okay. No problem.
I can just bring our wood in and I'll...
You know what? If you can avoid stuff that's got nails and screws in it, I dump my ash.
At this point, Stephen's friend Jill stops by with some firewood for him. As they say, it takes a village. And it really does. A whole community of people chip in to help Stephen and keep this place going.
My grandson brought in a whole bunch of boxes of wood, just the right size, all clean hardwood from their farm. He's got a sawmill down there now, and he's building kilns. But they brought up a bunch of huge, boxes like this,
nice.
full of wood, and carried it all upstairs. So
good, so you got it upstairs.
Yep.
So we'll just keep this. Matter of fact, I can even stop in the morning and drop what I have. Is that working out good for you?
That's fine.
Well,
That's
I will
fine.
drop that by in the morning, and you guys continue on. And here, I'll give my puppies their treats. And I'm going to get out of your hair. There you are. And I'll see you. Well, I won't see you in the morning, but I'll see the kitties.
All right, thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, nice meeting you. Yes.
So, where were we?
Well, we were talking about how
How
you
Folk Forum got
transitioned
started.
into Folk Forum.
This friend of ours, David, was coming by, and I mentioned the fact that we used to have this really great little get-together in Orinoco back when I lived in the commune.
Okay.
And we would show movies.
Do the movies and everything.
And David said, well, you can check movies out from the Rochester Public Library. Let's do that again.
Oh.
So he rented a projector and brought it up, and we watched a couple movies, and that sufficed for a short while. And then I got an old used projector from the Episcopal Church in Lake City that was not using their projector anymore. You've probably run these before, the kind where it gets a loose loop of film and it goes flap, flap, while you're watching the movie, and somebody has to jump up and go over and straighten it out so that you can start the movie again, and the sound as it starts up, it goes, kind of thing. And so after doing those movies for a little while, David says, let's do a square dance. So we hosted a bunch of musicians from, Winona area, who called themselves the Sugar Hill String Band.
Okay.
It was the Wheeler sisters, Betsy Wheeler and I'm forgetting the name of. They had, one of them was a fiddle player, and I'll think of it as soon as we're done with this interview.
Of course. So you got them.
Sugar Hill String Band came up, and we had Bob Bovey and Gail Heil called the first square dance. And, Gail died a few years ago.
Okay, I don't know her. I didn't know her.
Yeah, they always used to come together. And Pop Wagner used to come and call once in a while. And the square dances filled the place up.
I bet.
With back to the lander homesteader types.
Right.
Those old hippie types, who had gotten back to the land. They came out of the hills.
Yeah, I bet.
And it was great times. And I think we had maybe more than 100 people for a square dance, which, you have to kind of have everybody, sitting on. We had buckets, 5-gallon buckets with boards on them and whatever, and didn't have enough old rocking chairs and old kitchen chairs to seat everybody. So pretty much everybody had to be standing up or dancing. And we had, I think I'm trying to remember how many squares we had going up there. We probably had at least 2 squares going, and maybe it was 3 if we could kind of nest the squares in a way that would fit across the room. And I didn't have all those beautiful old chairs that I have now. So, and actually that wasn't the first music. The first music was the first year after, my first wife, Nan.
Square dancing. Well, there's more to this story than that. In fact, it involves square dancing and one heck of a wild night with some drunken bikers and a huge revelation about folk music. This concludes part 1 of the story. I hope you tune in next Thursday for the conclusion of our story on the Oak Center General Store and our interview with Stephen Schwen. Thanks to Stephen Schwen, owner of the Oak Center General Store, for joining us today on Culture Clique. For more information on the Oak Center General Store, go to oakcentergeneralstore.com. To keep up on all things Winona and the surrounding area, tune in to Culture Clique Thursdays at 12:30 right here on 89.5 KQAL. I'm Bill Stoneberg, and I hope that you will join us again next week for the conclusion of our look into the Oak Center General Store on Culture Clique.
Creating cultural awareness and understanding. You've been listening to Culture Clique. Support for Culture Clique is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Culture Clique is produced by KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University. For more information, look us up on the web at kqal.org. And thanks for listening to Culture Clique.